So recently, I did a review of the documentary FedUp and posted it on my channel. And I had my children watch it for their science. And then we have a friend that had been staying with us for the past week, and she was interested, and so she watched it. And then I wanted to put together a roundtable discussion, interview type video with these four teens and get their perspective of what their takeaway was with their own words from the documentary FedUp, and just see what really grabbed them the most. And I think it turned out really well. It's about 15 minutes. And if you've been around my channel long enough, you know that I'm really big on educating yourself, watching documentaries, reading books. I like to do those kind of reviews because the more and more that we can get out information on these documentaries that are put out there to help people make good decisions and really learn when we're being lied to by Big Pharma and Big Med, it's just important that they don't get buried. And so if we can do even just a little bit to help bring people to this important information, or maybe to this important book, you don't know whose life that could actually change. And I've learned over, well, the past many years, as I've made strides and changes in my health, and like with fasting and going from paleo to low carb to keto and now to carnivore, people are watching, and they watch regardless if they tell you that they're watching, and then they start implementing those changes, whichever one fits their need. And not everyone needs to eat carnivore, but if everyone can at least cut back on processed foods or eliminate the processed foods and just eat real whole foods focusing on protein, that's a huge win. So when I have people, message me that they've been eating carnivore or whole food or starting fasting, it makes me feel really good, not in a prideful way, but just I'm so glad that I shared. Because if I wouldn't share, maybe because I was self-conscious, or what if I fail, then I might not have touched their life, or my journey might not have touched their life. I didn't do anything. I just shared my journey. And if I wouldn't have shared, then that wouldn't have touched their life, and they might not be making these changes and having better health. So I wanted these kids to hopefully have an impact maybe on some other teens' lives or views of food and health. And I think it's important that we start seeing more from the younger communities, and that they can start sharing their journey, because you don't know what other kids that you could help. There's kids out there that are struggling with depression and anxiety and mental issues, and they're just getting thrown on medications. But if they could have a friend that said, hey, I used to struggle with this, or I get really bad anxiety when I eat this way, would you want to try eating another way with me? I'll eat this way with you. You don't know what kind of changes that could make in their life. So we put together this little round table discussion without the round table. It's more of a round floor discussion. But I think the kids did a really good job, and I'm so happy that they agreed to do this, because it's not easy for teens to get in front of the camera, and then they feel awkward, and what do I say? What if I stumble over my words? What if I don't get it perfect? And the whole premise is it doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be their words, and it needs to be from their heart, and they need to know that they're helping to get this message out, and they know, and they've seen it in our lives and in their dad. They know. So I think they did a phenomenal job, so I hope that you enjoy their little discussion. And at the end, there is a clip that I recorded on my TV from the documentary FedUP, and it is the doctor that we're discussing. You'll see in the discussion with the kids, it is the doctor that basically got caught in a bold-faced lie. He gets a lot of money from big food, from like Coca-Cola and stuff, and he is trying to say that soda is not related to obesity at all. And when the interviewer is like asking him where the science is and everything behind that, he stumbles over his words because he doesn't have an answer, because he's never been questioned. And basically at the end of the clip, he's like, just a minute, I have to get my thoughts together. Well, if you can't just answer and have the studies, and you're supposed to be a doctor that knows this, something's wrong. And it's wrong because there are no studies, and he got found out that he's a bought doctor. And that poses that everyone should be questioning. Don't fear questioning your physician. Your physician should be your healthcare partner, and they should welcome your questions. And never I don't care if you have supplements or whatever, and you've got scientists and you trust them, and that's great, but don't just blindly take what they say. You need to question, you need to question, you need to question, and you need to get the answers. And if they're not going to answer, or they're just going to brush you off, then you might want to look elsewhere. So without further ado, please enjoy Emily, Ellie, Natalie, and Lydia. 4 teens that give a very nice review of the documentary FedUp and this way of our living carnivore-ish. So enjoy. We'll be able to trim some of this out. So, hello on this beautiful Sunday morning from Wisconsin. I am here with friends and family. I have our helpers. These are teens. 3 of them are mine, and 1 is an honorary mine for the past week. And we have all watched the documentary FedUp, and I thought it was important to get a teen view on it, since the documentary itself was about adolescent obesity. And so we're going to have just a brief roundtable discussion, and my helpers will introduce themselves and then kind of discuss what the documentary, where stood out to them, and what they took away from it. So, you, there, what's your name and your age?
My name's Eliana, and I'm 14.
Natalie, and I'm 18. Lydia, and I'm 18.
Emily, and I'm 16.
So who wants to start?
I think Lydia does.
Okay. So I just finished watching the documentary before I got here. And it talked about how, a lot of the media and stuff is really lying to us, which is sad. It was really kind of touched me how there was actually personal stuff in there. Lots of people were involved in the documentary, which was really nice, and we got to hear kids' stories and see how they grew, and how I think Brady was one of the kids, and he actually started changing his life, and which was nice.
Awesome. I thought it was sad to see how these kids are finding out that they're being lied to, and that the reason everything isn't working is not the reason that they're being told. Mm-hmm. And then they start to change, and then because everywhere they go they're being tempted, it's all just wiped away after they lose weight, and it's just back again because they walk into these stores and it's right there, and it's cheap, so you might as well.
Yeah, but it's not. It's kind of like how they show in the documentary. Yeah, it's cheap,
but then you look at the actual food and you compare it, and it's
Well, I know,
the
but
same.
It just looks.
kids aren't
It
gonna
looks better.
kids
is
aren't
what it
gonna pay for broccoli over Reese's Pieces.
Right.
Right.
It's
Like how they're saying they made French fries a vegetable in public schools.
Yeah.
Because they're potatoes.
And pizza.
Right.
They made pizza a vegetable.
Wait, technically tomato sauce is.
Well,
Okay.
and that's what they
I'm
were
just saying
saying.
that.
Yeah.
Tomato's not even a vegetable.
But that's how they got away with it. Is
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. What about you, there, little one?
Yeah, at least be.
Thought it was good, and how, like you said, all these commercials and stuff, they're putting faces of actors and like or Avengers or whatever, Mickey Mouse on these food brands, makes little kids want to buy them.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though they say that they're healthy, they're not. They're
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, this wasn't from the movie, but it's like they were trying to say like one of the cereal brands sells like and like the diabetes medicine or whatever.
And you guys all know drugs are bad, right?
Yes.
I was just about to say, and it's true that it's just as addicting as any drug.
Yeah.
Worse.
They did
Yeah, it's worse.
They
You're right.
did
It's
a
worse.
test
It's
on.
worse.
They did a test with the rats, and
Yeah.
they only 2 of the rats out of 44.
Three.
Only 2 of the
43.
43. Sorry, 43 rats.
Get it right.
Only 2 of them actually went to the
Cocaine.
cocaine instead of the sugar water.
Right.
So.
And that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's
just
just
insane.
And then when they took the sugar water away, they were just like.
Suffering from withdrawal and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was scary. It was kind of scary, but very interesting how they compared it to like the exact same thing was happening like with the cigarettes. Like everyone was fine with it and they pushed for it. And everything, even though they knew it was bad through the studies and everything.
And now, years and years later, you know, when they took away. I mean, it's still there. It's still legal, but now there's warnings all over it.
Right. Yeah.
And yet we don't have the warnings on any of the sugary foods.
Yeah.
Did you guys catch there was the doctor there, and he's highly paid by like Coke and Pepsi.
And he wasn't.
He basically got caught in his lies, and I just what did you like think about that? Because aren't we taught like to listen to what the doctor says because they've gone to school, and then when he can't even explain once he's got caught, I mean, how does that, as a child and a young adult, you know, when you go to the doctor and your parents take you to the doctor, you know, you should advocate for yourself, but you still take their advice because they're the ones that went to school. But then to see that these doctors are lying to us, what goes through your mind when you think that?
Scary knowing there's not as many people to trust.
Yeah.
Especially.
Makes me think that like I better find myself a very trustworthy doctor or research the stuff that they tell me before I do it.
You should probably educate yourself before you trust blindly.
Someone else. And in the video, they were taking like they said that bread's good and all that stuff, and they were taking it, and it all basically turns into sugar. And like, and then you're gonna get granola bars, which is healthy, but then they looked at the ingredients, and there was just too many, and it all would turn into a bunch of sugar. And at every meal, it was sugar, even if it was like healthy.
And one of the families realized that it wasn't real food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, Lydia, you've been with us for a week, and I don't know how you normally eat at home. Living with a carnivore-ish family for a week, how have you liked the food? What are your thoughts and that takeaway as you get ready to leave us?
It's different. It's definitely different. It makes me realize how much I eat sugar.
Yeah.
And like eating food and me being like, this is kind of, you know, like bland, but in like a different sense. And making me actually be like, oh, I have to eat real food now. That would be a good thing.
Because it's triggering different parts of your taste buds. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And then, you know, have you noticed eating this way that you're hungry less often? You know, because you stay more satiated than normal?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of been a balance because I've been, when I was here, I've been eating junk food at whatever.
Yeah.
I can't.
Right.
I always notice if I eat for dinner, if I choose to eat a burger with a bun, versus, or like pizza versus just a fatty steak. I wake up in the morning and I'm starving if I ate all the pizza or the carbs. Whereas the steak, I wake up, can skip breakfast, lunch if I want to because I'm not hungry, and then eat for dinner.
Yeah. And do you notice are you like?
I'm not low on energy.
Okay.
Not the no headaches.
At the same time with that, you don't have to buy for breakfast and then lunch.
Yeah, you gotta buy less.
Let's buy less.
Yeah. What about you? How do you feel when you eat one way, like how we normally eat, versus like when we go away or when you go to camp or whatever, and you're kind of,
well,
off?
For one, it's like you eat it like more energy, but when you're eating it, it's like, oh, it's not that bad, but then it catches up with you and it's like, now I really feel it.
Well, it's kind of like
you think, oh man, this was worth
when you eat junk food for like your whole life,
oh.
it's like it doesn't. When you eat healthy,
if you start off eating junk food and then you switch to healthy, and then you go back to eating junk food, it's like
it's
I don't
harder.
remember
It's
being
harder.
it this way. I don't remember it being this painful. Whereas
I
when
don't
you're
remember tasting like cardboard.
Eating the correct way, it you don't feel any of the side effects, and you don't really miss the taste until you go back and you eat the bad food, and you're like, this is disgusting. Why did I like this?
Yep.
It's really bad.
So if you each had one takeaway, one thing, or a couple of things to share with a peer that hopefully will be watching this video, what would it be?
Well, mine would be, the one thing that really caught me was everybody always says you should exercise, that'll bring your weight down, that'll make you healthier, when in reality, exercising is good, don't get me wrong, but you don't have to revolve your life around exercising. You don't have to go out and exercise 4 hours a day, because it's not going to help you that much.
And speaking of that, you've lost weight. And how much exercise have you done?
Not a lot.
And you've slimmed down, you've noticed your clothes being looser, and even the scale has moved, because we don't really focus on the scale a lot, but and people have.
Well, honestly, if I'm going to be honest, the scale has not moved that much, but my body has slimmed and I've gained muscle in other areas.
And people have noticed and commented on that, haven't
I
they?
have, yeah, my boss commented on it. She was like, have you lost weight? And I did. I lost weight and I gained muscle in other places. Even though my weight stayed the same, I lost it, but gained muscle weight.
Lost the fat.
I lost the fat and gained muscle weight.
Yeah, and that's with very little exercise, because
I'm probably the person that exercises the least in the family.
Yep.
So.
What about you, Ellie? You were going to say something. No? Do you have just a little takeaway? It doesn't have to be about the documentary, but just about.
Just in general.
Well, if you see junk food lying there, it's gonna be really hard to resist the temptation. But the more you resist the temptation, the easier it becomes.
Do you find, like when you go out, taking food that you can eat that will keep you good? Do you find that helpful?
Yes.
You know, like on track meets when Emily used to take bacon and everyone would steal it from her. So she tried. So we just had to send more.
Yeah. All the boys.
All the boys, they were jealous. What about you?
They smelled it.
I really think it was interesting in the documentary how they were emphasizing it doesn't matter like how much you eat, especially with like the calories, like 25 calories around the board is not the same thing. Like 25 calories of sugar affects your body differently from like 25 calories of like protein.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's much better. So it doesn't
Calories
matter.
don't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much you have. It just matters if you get good food.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
It matters more the carbs than like calories don't matter.
Yes, because the more good satiety food that you eat, you're not going to be as hungry as often, and
it's
so.
Because the sugar all processes at once, whereas the fat and the healthier, meaty stuff takes more time to process, which gives you more energy and not a crash after eating.
Yeah, there's like when normal people go out and exercise and they add the calories, like how many calories you burn, and then they go home and they look at the calories on the food that they're just gonna eat and they're like, oh, I burned more calories than that, and then they ate it, it didn't do anything.
Right. Yeah. What about you?
I think that a lot of times when you hear people talking about diets, it's very stereotypical that people are complaining that they're on a diet or they hate it and it's awful. But I've noticed that it's not bad. It actually makes me happier than if I were to eat junk food a lot. Like my mood is better, my self-esteem is better. I don't really care about how I look and stuff like that. It's a lot easier to be more carefree and unburdened, especially socially, when I've been eating this way. Like my moods have definitely changed a lot.
Yeah, the emotions play a lot into the carbs too. The less, I've noticed that with our sister, the more carbs she eats, the more and easier emotions she has.
The easier she gets her anxiety and stuff.
Yep.
Right, that's right. That's true. All right. Well, is there anything else anyone wants to add? Or are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. So are you guys glad that mom and surrogate mom made you watch the documentary?
Yes.
I have to say, Mom only planned on us watching it halfway through and then finishing it the next day. But when she played it, we just finished it.
Yeah.
It was engaging not to finish it.
So would you recommend that other people, especially teens
I would recommend,
and young adults, watching it?
I would very much recommend that other people watch it.
Yes.
And don't fall asleep during it.
All right. Well, thank you, girls. I appreciate it. I know it's painful to get in front of the camera and share thoughts, but this will help a lot of people, and it will help a lot of youth also to hopefully start to learn about their bodies and learn how different foods affect their bodies so that they can make positive changes. And maybe, as we can all work together and get things out, we can start combating and reversing obesity in general, but also childhood obesity, because when it's one thing to be a chubby kid, but to be an extremely obese kid, you're just getting set up for a really tough adulthood, and no parent wants to see that. But I think if we can educate our parents too, then they can either help their children that are already along that way start to reverse it, or they can put that kibosh on. So I greatly appreciate your guys' thoughts and taking time out of running around and whatnot. So thank you, girls.
Thank you.